What is up, movie viewers? Dena Views and Reviews here asking what you watching. Today I am watching The Deliverance. Now this movie stars Andra Day, Glenn Close, Anthony B. Jenkins, Caleb McLaughlin, Tasha Smith, Demi Singleton, Monique Anjanae Ellis, and Omar Epps. It is written by Lee Daniels, Elijah Bynum, and David Coggeshall. Directed by Lee Daniels, produced by Lee Daniels, Tucker Tooley, Jackie Sheenu, Greg Gorgenselin, Greg Rinker, Jackson Guyan, Pamela Ois Williams, Todd Kreitz, and Hilary Shore. Now, The Deliverance tells the story of a very, very dysfunctional family. This family moves into a rental home that has a very dark, dank, stinky, and spooky basement in Indiana. Did I mention this was a highly dysfunctional family? Okay. In this movie, the breadwinner is a mother of three. She comes across as a very angry woman that uses a lot of foul language, and her three children follows in her footsteps with their vocabulary. It is clear from the very beginning that there is some friction and trauma in this family. It is in disarray and is evident. Now, Andra Day, who is a phenomenal actress in her own right, she stars as Ebony. And Ebony, of course, is a biracial woman. She appears to be broken. She drinks a lot of alcohol. She's bitter and she's quite angry. She is the mother of three black children, Andre, Nate, and Shantae, and they're played by Anthony B. Jenkins, Demi Singleton, and Caleb McLaughlin. Ebony moves into a rental home with her Caucasian mother. Her mother is cancer-ridden, yet she continues to smoke cigarettes. Her name is Alberta, and she is played by Glenn Close. Now, she is this stereotypical black man-loving Caucasian woman. She flirts with and she attracts young black men and sleeps with them. In this case, even while getting chemotherapy, she's drawing the eyes of black men. Now, Alberta, she philanders with one black male nurse in particular, and his name is Melvin, and he is played by Omar Epps. I really think this was odd and really almost unnecessary as a character, because Alberta's inclusion was simply I think it was meant to entice the viewers and increase interest in the film and make it more appealing to audiences, especially it's Glenn Close. She's very popular because the actual family that this movie was said to be inspired from in real life was a black family, and the grandmother was black as well. The movie was said to be inspired by LaToya Ammonds and her three children that experienced these events while they lived in said house in Gary, Indiana in 2011. Now, Deliverance, the movie, changed LaToya's name to Ebony, and the plot was set in Pittsburgh. Yet it is mentioned that many of the details in the film came from LaToya Ammonds' own testimony. As well, the movie credits are said to denote that LaToya Ammonds served as an associate producer on this film. Now, after moving into the rental property, this family begins to be plagued by strange occurrences, including weird noises, putrid smells, apparitions, including them exhibiting bizarre, weird, and unusual behaviors themselves. And they would all be in this trance-like state, and after the instance had occurred, or the weird behavior, none of them could recollect or remember once they were awakened or pulled out of this so-called trance and brought back to their senses what happened. They wouldn't Remember, now these occurrences and behavior convinced the family that it was the house that was causing the unusual events and weird behaviors from them that they exemplified. They further believed that the strange incidents were demonic manifestations and convinced them and much of the community that the house is a portal to hell. I gave this movie a 2.5 stars out of 5. Although it has created quite a lot of buzz around it. It just left me with a lot of questions after I've actually watched the movie. I'm questioning how it was written, in the manner in which it was written, and even some of the incidents that were said to have occurred there. Why? Only because I am somewhat a person that tends to overanalyze some of these movies, I guess. But Monique was in this movie as well in the supporting role as Cynthia, the social worker. And as always, she was a standout, even though I could not completely imagine a social worker strutting up in someone's house with that kind of language, those insults, and propping up her feet on the couch. But my biggest inquiry would be about the backstory concerning Alberta and her side of the family, as well as Ebony's mental health instability and the childhood trauma that she had experienced. And I kept wondering, where were the men of their family? They're always MIA, but it seemed MIA in the children's life and in their life as a family. There was not a lot of male or masculine representation there. Even though the movie hinted at Ebony's sexual abuse as a child, she clearly carried a lot of baggage. She had clear detest or disdain for her mother and her behavior and how she treated her as a child. She just didn't hesitate to remind her how she was just not a good mother to her. And noticeably, what were her issues when it came to race? She even mentioned not being believed, or her children not being believed, because she was looked upon as the whorish mother with all those black children. Ebony actually called her own mother the typical white bitch, wanting to lay up with young black men. And I noticed that all of the black men represented were only interested in getting with Alberta, Ebony's white mother. I don't know or quite understand if this was purposely written in to send some kind of message or just put in as representation of what we see today, but it was obvious and quite noticeable. I have to say that the family dynamic and the dysfunction is what overshadowed the abnormal behavior to me. When you're realistically thinking about what may have occurred, I wasn't there, I can't say, but some of the dysfunction of the family may have contributed to it in this case. And the behavior and events that occurred within their lives, to me, began at some point. And in this movie, just the introduction of the family, it came with foul language, and the dialogue between them was just hostile. And there were some horrid interactions to me. And that alone would have one seriously questioning or perplexed about their experiences that they shared with the world. And I know many writers, producers, and filmmakers do exaggerate content to make real life stories more interesting and appealing to the movie watcher. It just left me, though, with too many questions in my mind, like, where is the real father? What is the deal with the fathers, the Ebony's, the children's? What about uncles? And it just left me with a lot of questions, even about her childhood, her relationship with her own husband, as I said, her father, and other family members. Though I did not find the movie to be terrifying in comparison to other chilling movies that I've watched, I have to admit that I was so very impressed with the little boy actor, Anthony B. Jenkins, who played Dre. I mean, he was frightening. He played that role quite well. This little boy's stare alone was fear-provoking. He was so creepy and startling, and he really made this movie disquieting and noteworthy. This little boy is a remarkable actor, in my opinion, and just looking into his big eyes, it was daunting and scary. He had that piercing look. I even saw a post on Facebook that said, after watching this movie, this little boy can never, ever visit my home, even though I know he was only acting. And that's saying a lot. I think he has a bright future ahead. His performance was indeed impressive, and he was chilling. But I gotta say, much of the dialogue in this film came straight out of left field and is commonly what is overheard between duties. And it just really left much to be desired in that aspect. I didn't quite understand why Asia was mad that Ebony was drinking and dancing in her own house after Shantae's birthday party. Why was he saying, "You showed your ass"? It felt as if something was left out on the cutting room floor, and perhaps they continued on with the movie, forgetting that the audience was not privy to that part. And also, when Ebony accused her mother of sniffing her breath in front of the children, I must have missed or overlooked that part, because I was asking my B if when, at what point did she sniff? I must have overlooked that. But either way, I'm sure many artists are inspired by thrillers, other movies, horror movies that have been made, like The Exorcist, which in that case, a young lady was possessed as well. And yes, she did and said some very disturbing things. But in this movie, to hear Glenn Close during the possession say, "I can smell your nappy poontang," that just took me completely out of the seriousness of this movie. And I was laughing so hard. I was just completely tickled. I had to wait and let the giggles subside. Then I rewind that part over again so I could try to get back into it. Oh my goodness. Glenn Close looked just like the thing Gollum from Lord of the Rings that was running around saying, "The precious." And I had to watch it over again. It just was too funny. Take the wheel, Lord. Now, the Deliverance is rated R. And if you are interested in checking out this movie, you most certainly can, because it is currently streaming on Netflix. If you have not already, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave me your comments on what you thought of this movie. I invite you to join me weekly for another review or a movie recommendation. And I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?